Deion Sanders and Colorado are welcoming the Baylor Bears to town on Saturday, and I think one of the keys to victory is getting the passing game going early.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, follow, so that way you don't miss anything. Thank you guys for making me your first listen. Let's dive right into what I view as the keys to winning for these Colorado Buffaloes, which I do think they're going to win. I think it's going to be a close one. The weather's going to be a factor, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Let's talk about the keys to winning. I already mentioned one of them, right, which is getting off to a strong start in the first quarter. Getting off to a quack start. Getting off to a quick start. I guess I'm a duck now. I feel like the offense and their scripted plays have not looked that good, right? Like the 15-play script is supposed to be your bread and butter. It's supposed to be, hey, this is what we're doing. And if you look at Shedeur Sanders' splits, he is the least effective in the first quarter. He has the least amount of passing yards. His completion percentage is the lowest. His touchdown, he has 2 touchdowns and 1 interception, and he's also been sacked 3 times. So clearly there's some issues in the first quarter with Colorado and starting strong. Also, if you look at their first drive of every game so far, they've only scored once. They scored on their first drive against North Dakota State, that is, excuse me. Against Nebraska, they went 3 and out, and then against Colorado State, would you look at that? 3 and out. So they need to get off to a fast start, get the passing game going, get the ball in the hands of Will Sheppard, LaJohntay Wester, Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn. Those guys, I think, are forming one of the best receiver cores in college football. And if you're able to get the ball to them early and sort of make a big splash, if you will, make a big impact on the game, it takes a lot of pressure off everyone else. And realistically, I talked about how these teams matched up yesterday, and I don't think I did a good enough job explaining that what we've seen from Baylor thus far, it's hard to tell how good their defense is. And you're probably like, that's not really helpful. Well, let me explain. Baylor beat the poop out of Tarleton State, 45-3. Baylor then lost to Utah 23-12, but the game was not as close as the score indicated. Then they beat an Air Force team who doesn't throw the ball. Air Force threw in a 31-3 loss. Air Force threw 8 passes. So Baylor's pass defense is currently I think it's the best in college football statistically, but they also haven't played there. It's kind of like a false number one, if you will. And let me go back to that Utah game specifically. Baylor lost 23-12. But here was the big story from that game. Cam Rising hurts his hand. Utah scored 17 points in the first quarter. They were up 17-0 in the first quarter. Then they went up 23-0 in the second quarter, thanks to a blocked field goal return for a touchdown. So they're up 23-0 by the time Baylor puts up a field goal as halftime expires. So they scored 3 points as halftime expires. Cam Rising went down in this game in the second quarter because of an injury to his hand, which I think he's going to be back this week. But before he went out, he was 8 of 14 for 92 yards and 2 scores. So clearly Baylor's offense against, I would call Cam Rising a very good quarterback, wasn't that good. Or their defense, excuse me. Their defense against a very good quarterback, not that good, right? He was kind of moving the ball down the field. Well, then Utah had to turn to Isaac Wilson, a true freshman. He went 4 of 9 for 30 yards, and they didn't score the rest of the game. And so this kind of allowed Baylor to cut the lead a little bit and make it look closer than it actually was. Shedeur Sanders, as we all know, is an elite quarterback. And so I think he's better than Cam Rising. Cam Rising's more experienced, obviously, but Shedeur Sanders is more of a dynamic player. Now, I think if he gets things going, this passing attack could really open the game. And this could be if all things go right for Colorado, this could be their strongest first half showing on offense. So far, they scored 17 points against Nebraska in the first half. They scored 0 against North Dakota State. Scored 0 against Nebraska, and then they scored 14 against Colorado State. of those points, right? They've just been so inconsistent in the first half. It's really hard to tell like what's going wrong in the first half. Is it lack of aggression, poor play calling, poor execution? We're gonna find out, right? This Baylor defense, while I did say that their numbers are a little juiced, they're still a solid unit. So that's my first key of the game. Is get the passing game going early. Shedeur Sanders needs to get the ball to Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn, whoever it is. Get them the ball, let them make plays. And I think if you sort of take the wind out of Baylor sails early, it'll make your life easier in the second half. Next key to the game. Let's just talk about the obvious one here. I think it's obvious. Slow down the run. And I think Colorado's done a really good job against the run. I don't think anyone's really I don't know. I feel like Colorado's defense as a whole has been decent, right? Each and every week they've been improving. And that's all you can ask for. Because I mean, the worst thing you could do is get worse in every week or get worse and worse every week, excuse me. So the fact that they are improving every week, good sign in my eyes. But run defense, excuse me. I think there's probably room to grow there, right? I think realistically, Baylor just found a freshman running back who they're probably going to be relying on a lot more, and they're probably going to want to just feed him the rock. And if weather is a factor, I mean, are they going to want to air it out as much? I don't think so. Colorado currently ranks 82nd in the country in run defense. So I think one of the keys here is you got to slow down the run and make Baylor beat you through the air. I'm sorry, a little tongue twister there. Because if you look at Baylor, they've obviously they're 3-0, right? Against Tarleton State, DeQuan Finn was 14-22 for 192 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. And they had 2 running backs with over 15 carries. So clearly they're trying to force their will on the run on the ground there. Against Utah, they had to throw the ball 21 times, and DeQuan Finn was 9-21. By all accounts, I think Sawyer Robinson is going to get the nod here. DeQuan Finn just hasn't been playing well. Sawyer Robinson was 18-24 against Air Force, but they did find a talented running back in freshman Bryson Washington. This was his first, or I guess he's a redshirt freshman, excuse me. His first big snaps this year. He had 12 carries for 106 yards, 8.8 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. And then they also used him in the passing game a little bit. He had a 23-yard catch. So clearly Baylor is going to lean on Washington here. They're going to try to power down Colorado's throat. I think each and every week there's a question about Colorado and how physical can they be. They were physical enough to beat North Dakota State. They weren't physical enough to beat Nebraska. And then they were way more physical than Colorado State. So it's like, how physical can this team be, right? And I think this will be a good test. So being physical on the line, stopping the run, not allowing Baylor to sort of get the run game going and get that play action pass game going. I think that takes away a lot from this offense. So puts a lot of pressure on Sawyer Robinson, who he has never really had to be that guy where he's going to win you games. I'm going to go through last year, his biggest game or his best game that he saw, I would say probably his best game. We'll call it. He was 17 of 19 against West Virginia, 1 touchdown, 215 yards. The other game, he threw 35 passes against Texas, was 20 of 35, only completed 57% of his passes. Like he has never been the guy through the handful of games he's played that will win you the game. So if you make them one-dimensional, which I think everyone is trying to do to Colorado, it will make his life a lot harder. So first 2 keys, get the pass game going early, take away Baylor's run game. Third key to the game. What do you guys think it is? Before I say it, comment below. Drum roll, please. I think the third key of the game, make big plays on defense again. I think obviously it was a rivalry game. Colorado State was running their mouths a lot. So I'm not gonna say that they seemed extra motivated, but the defense seemed like they were on a different level. And they had 0 turnovers forced coming into that game. They forced 4. When you are able to win the turnover battle, it opens a lot of doors for you. And realistically, it opens doors for you and it closes doors for the other team. So Sawyer Robinson protected the ball last week, right? But if I'll pull up his stats from this past season, because we haven't really seen him play much this year. He is not someone who is notoriously known for protecting the ball. He has, in his first year at Mississippi State, he went 6 of 11 with a pick. We'll dive into that game right now. He only played in garbage time. He played against Arizona, went 1 of 1. Played against Bowling Green, 3 of 4, and then East Tennessee State was 2 of 6 with a pick. So didn't play a lot there. Transferred to Baylor. Like I said earlier, he had some pretty rough games. He was two touchdowns to 4 picks, completed 56% of his passes in his first year at Baylor. And then this year, he went 18 of 24, completed 75% of his passes, no touchdowns, no picks against Air Force, and then he threw for a touchdown against Tarleton State. So this guy has not shown that he could beat you, but he has shown that he's prone to making some mistakes, some risky throws. He comes from that air raid mentality, air raid offense. He obviously was recruited by Mike Leach at Mississippi State, so he's very familiar with that offense. And Baylor, I think, is going to want him to air it out, right? But you got DJ McKinney, you got Preston Hodge, you got, what's that guy's name? What's his name? Number 12. He's pretty good. Probably has a chance to be a Heisman contender. Probably has a chance to be the number 1 overall pick if all things go right. Yeah, Travis Hunter, really good. And so Colorado has, I think, one of the best secondaries in all of college football, and I think, or at least corner groups. They have, I would say, like Travis Hunter. I'll pull it up this way. Travis Hunter ranks 45th, according to PFF in terms of all corners. He's got a 78 overall grade. I'll pull up the other guys because I think it's a pretty good group, and none of them have given up a touchdown pass. So he's going to have to be a safety deep. He's going to have to sort of be a playmaker that he hasn't proven he could be. This is me talking about Sawyer Robinson, not Travis Hunter, by the way. But yeah, DJ McKinney ranks 153rd in his grade overall, 71.8. And then Preston Hodge is he's the weak link of the group, and I would say even he is pretty darn good. So this team as a whole, really, really good. I think if you force Sawyer Robinson to turn the ball over, if you get the offense going fast and you take away Baylor's run game, Colorado could blow this Baylor team out. I think people think it's so close because of sort of the flux we've seen from Colorado each and every week, but this has statement game potential. I think it's going to be a close one just because of certain other factors, but I think this Colorado team has a chance to win the game, and those are my 3 keys. You guys comment below. What are your 3 keys? Or give me one good key that you think, hey, Colorado does this or doesn't do this, they will win or they will lose. Let me know what you think. When we come back, we're going to be talking about how big of an impact and season Travis Hunter is having on this Colorado team and how many wins I think he's worth. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. This episode of Locked On Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at Game Time. And let me tell you about Game Time. They got the best deals. They got the best seats for every event near you. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live event even faster and easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Use the app features listed and customize your spot, and you're able to see what your view is. You have the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection. They have all of these amazing features. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Travis Hunter, how much of an impact does he have? Well, I think Travis Hunter, who was just named, he was just named the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week, which, I mean, impressive, right? He had a nice pick against Braden Fowler-Nicolosi, who was talking a lot of trash and was running his mouth. Well, on the flip side, young Mr. Travis also, he happened to lead the team in receptions with 13 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. LeJounte Wester also had a nice day, 5 catches, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think they're just going to take turns, this wide receiver group, where it's like 1 week it's Travis, 1 week it's LeJounte, 1 week it's Will Shepherd, the other it's Jimmy Horn. For the other guys, though, it's been hard for them to crack into the rotation. That's neither here nor there. Travis Hunter is what we're here to talk about. Yesterday, I talked about how I think Colorado should maximize the run game using Michael Welch. Dallin Hayden has a high ankle sprain. His status seems iffy at best. I'm being honest. That they made it seem like he's going to go, but at the same time, high ankle sprains are not anything to play with. I've had a few in my day where you just can't put pressure on your foot. Now, obviously, they have a lot more medication available to them. They have a lot more stuff available to them. But if he's not ready to go, he's not ready to go. And I think Michael Welch kind of showed that he could be the leader of this offense. As for Travis Hunter, what is Colorado doing with him that makes him so special? Well, they're using him in the same way they did last year, right? I think he's probably played all but 4 snaps this season. And it's impressive to see what he's done. And I love how they're using him, to be honest. I think realistically, his supporting cast on defense has helped him out. They're not really targeting Travis as much as, I didn't think people would want to target Travis because that's probably the stupidest thing to do with the ball. But people aren't they're not as confident throwing the ball at him this year, it seems, or at least that's how I feel. Realistically, I thought last year teams would think it was a game to cover Travis, but I also feel like because they're playing so much man coverage, they know, like, hey, am I confident enough in that receiver to get open? And also, am I confident enough for Travis Hunter to not pick the pass off? And for the most part, I would say no. Travis Hunter, he's been targeted 14 times. He's given up 11 catches for 75 yards, which is about 6.8 yards per catch. But he also has 1 pass breakup and 1 interception. So his coverage grade is 81.2. It's not ideal to throw to him. It's just not. It's not ideal to throw in his direction. And it's not ideal to him. It's not ideal to give him a chance to make a play. Realistically, I think there's a lot of questions around this Colorado team from the national media as to how good they could be. I think if Travis Hunter stays healthy and continues to make the impact that he has, I think he alone will sort of be a net positive enough to win Colorado 2 or 3 games. And you're probably like, how does that happen? How does that factor in? Well, you look at when he gets the ball compared to other receivers. And this isn't to say that these other guys aren't making plays. Like Jimmy Horn's made some plays. Will Shepherd has some nice jump ball catches. LeJounte Wester, he's shown some great speed. But none of them have shown the Travis Hunter effect, which is where you throw it to him in the red zone, jump ball, he's going to come down with it. If he doesn't come down with it, it's probably because there was pass interference. He's shown, and I think this was probably my favorite play. I think it was North Dakota State. A little Shedeur Sanders hits him on the sideline, and I think about 4, maybe 3, maybe 4 North Dakota State defensive backs had an angle on him, and he just sprinted up the sideline like a gazelle. He was graceful, fast, and so there's just this fear that other teams should have where if you let Travis Hunter make an impact, it will kill a drive for you, or it will give Colorado all the confidence in the world. And so I think when we're looking at this stretch now where it's Baylor, UCF, I think UCF's a tough game. I think Kansas State, tough game. Arizona, not as tough as it once looked, but still a tough game. I think Travis Hunter is good enough to sort of get Colorado over this hump of, are they good enough to win games, where I think he's good enough alone to sort of make an impact to will Colorado to victory. And I think he's going to be a Heisman finalist if Colorado wins enough games. And I do think that I don't think he'll win the Heisman, and it's nothing against him. I think the reason I don't see him winning the Heisman is I don't know if Colorado's going to have good enough record, and it's a quarterback award. So I don't think people really respect what we're seeing from Travis Hunter. But you have to really love what you're seeing from him. Overall, like I said, he was a top 50 corner in coverage grades, right? Or a top 50 corner in general. Let's go look at his receiver grade because I think that's also something that people don't take into account. He is literally, according to PFF, let me find his grade here. He is one of the best receivers in college football, and he also happens to be one of the best corners in college football, which is unheard of, I would say. It's not very often that a wide receiver has the opportunity to, or it's not often, excuse me, not just a wide receiver, but anyone for that matter, has an opportunity to sort of make an impact both on offense and defense. Unfortunately, PFF for some reason doesn't have him as a receiver in the national ranks, but his grade overall, let me pull this up because I thought I had seen it earlier. His grade overall as a receiver is 82.3. So that would be good enough to be, let me just do the math myself then. Because realistically, how hard is it for a receiver to be the best of their position? How hard is it for a corner to be the best of the position? Well, for Travis Hunter, he happens to be the best at both positions. So he's an 82.3 receiver grade, which, according to PFF, now that I've done the little math part myself or the looking part myself, that would put him as a top 20 graded receiver. So he's top 45 in both positions, probably the best player at both positions. Let's just be honest. I think he's going to be a Heisman candidate, and I think he's going to will Colorado to 3 wins just based off of interceptions, right? I think he kind of woke up against Colorado State where he was locking down those receivers. I think the interception against Colorado State may have been one of his best. And then offensively, I think they're going to continue to find ways to get him the ball, even when defenses are focusing on him, because you can't just key in on him because they have other receivers. So he's going to be open in some capacity. They're going to get him the ball. He's going to ball out. And I think he's due for some big games in these coming weeks. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the rain. Is it going to affect this offense? Will it not? I don't know, but we're going to talk about it. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by one of our newest sponsors, and you guys need to know about our sponsors over at ROI. Hey, Locked on Buffs fans, have you heard about ROI, Roy? It stands for Return on You, and it's a new platform that lets you, the fans, get involved in NIL like never before by making contributions directly to your favorite athletes. By supporting players directly, you can help share rosters, retain talent, and shape rosters, retain talent, and keep your favorite athletes out of the transfer portal. All you know, NIL has changed the game forever, and athletes, it's a big factor of what they do. So you can directly support players. ROI allows fans to directly back their favorite college athletes. With ROI, fans can play a key role in shaping the future of their favorite teams, while athletes maximize their name, image, and likeness. Fans' contributions are securely held and are not distributed if the athlete makes the decision. Are only distributed, if the athlete makes a decision that aligns with fan support. If not, the money is returned to the fan. So download ROI or Roy for iOS or Android and enter referral code Locked On, and you'll be automatically entered into a sweepstakes to win $5,000 cash. Again, get the app on iOS or Android and start making an impact for your favorite team. Use referral code Locked On for an opportunity to win $5,000 cash. Visit joinroy.com for more details. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Get off the sidelines and into the NIL game. Let's talk about it. It's a factor, whether people wanted to say it or not. I think it's one of those things where it's never a factor until it is, right? And right now, the weather report's looking like there's going to be some rain. If you look at ESPN's weather, they're calling for some lightning. If you look at the weather app on the good old iPhone, sorry, I have the hiccups all of a sudden. At the time of this recording, it's showing that there's a possible chance of rain. If it's a torrential downpour, I'm concerned, right? Anytime there's a torrential downpour and your team throws the ball a lot, like Colorado does, they're 4th in the country in passing attempts, they're 9th in the country in passing offense, that would take away or at least impact a major part of what they want to do. If it's just a little drizzle, they should be fine, right? I mean, I don't think it's going to be that much of a factor. I know there's like this ongoing beef between Deion Sanders and meteorologists all of a sudden just because people want to get weird about it. But if there's a downpour, I'd be a little concerned. I'm a little less concerned considering they just found a star in Michael Welch and they could just feed him 15 to 20 times and not have to force Shedeur Sanders to throw the ball in this poor weather, but it looks like it's going to sprinkle. I don't know how big of a factor the weather is going to be, but I know people have been talking about it online. So I'll just say this: if it's a downpour, Colorado could be in trouble, right? We're going to see how willing they are to run the ball. If there's not a downpour, everything will be business as usual, and Baylor will face the best passing attack they faced all off season. I think Colorado has the edge here, even though Baylor's defense is ranked as one of the best in the country. I think Baylor's benefited from a week out of conference schedule, right? They played Tarleton, they played Air Force, neither of which were prolific on offense. And I think that helped boost those numbers a bit. So let's just see how Baylor stacks up against this passing attack. I do think rain has a chance to be a factor, but there's no need to go into a frenzy about it. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in to Locked On Buffs, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And I will see you guys tomorrow with a crossover episode with a guy from Locked On Baylor who a lot of people are fired up about.